I'm really, really pleased to have both of you with us today. As you may know, the Women's Orchestra in Berlin has been in existence for 15 years. We're celebrating 15 years now. And it's a group that just meets once a year just to learn repertoire, but many, many people have participated, women have participated over the years, and several of them are with us today. We are recording this session because we would like to show it to other participants, and thank you for agreeing to recording. I asked you beforehand. It is lovely to see you. We got connected because we have a working group of women. We call this group Conducting Women, and that has many meanings. Conducting women, women who conduct, but also women who conduct works by women composers, and also women who conduct women's orchestras. All of these things are in this special name. And Andrea is a member of this group, and Eva Meidner and Vanessa Chartrand, and we get together about every 6 months to talk about our work. By the way, there's also a choral leaders session, the same kind, women conducting works by women in choirs, and Mareike Hilbig is the person who organizes that. So we're very networked here. And Mareike, it's great to see you here as well. Nice to see you. Yeah. So let's get started. I wrote down a few topics that I wanted to talk about. And the very first one, of course, give us some background on your orchestra. When was it founded? What was the motivation for founding your group? And what are the main goals that you see for Virago Symphonic Orchestra in Antwerp?
First of all, thank you, Marielle, for inviting me and Pascal. I'm very excited to talk about the orchestra. So I founded the orchestra in 2019. It had been a dream of mine since I was 17. So 2019, I turned 25 2 days ago, so I have to count when that was three years ago. So yeah, I was like 21 at that time. So I had been thinking about this for 4 years, and it was because I went to an art school in high school, and we had to do very silly, actually. We had to choose an organization to speak about. And I always wanted to stand out, so I didn't want to do like a really well-known organization. And I then came across this speech by Emma Watson about gender equality, and it was for the he for she movement. And at that point, when you're 17, you don't really realize any of this stuff yet. So my eyes went wide open, and I immediately wanted to do something about it. So I went to see in my area of expertise, and what I wanted to become was a classical musician. So I started looking at the orchestras, looking at the pieces they were playing, looking who was in front of the orchestras. And then it became very clear that there were not a lot of women represented on stage, or their music, or conductors. So I had the dream to do like a festival, like a 1-night 3-hour festival of all, like an ode to women. So like 100+ women on stage, just celebrating women in music. So that's what we then eventually did in 2020 on the 8th of March, which is the International Women's Day. So we were able to do it on that day. And it was a huge success. It was a big journey. We eventually were with 140 women on stage, and we played about 10 pieces, all ranging from like a duo to quintets that were written specially for the project, to big orchestral pieces and an orchestral piece with choir as well. So I wanted to kind of represent women of all ages. We have a very international group. We have women aged from 18 to like 70 years old in our orchestra. So you have like all of these different women from all walks of life. And there's amateurs, but there's also conservatory students, there's professional musicians, and there are retired professional musicians as well. So it's very fun because the amateurs learn from all of the other groups. So it's very we found it very fun to rehearse in that setting, because it was like a real like group sisterhood kind of feeling. And yeah, for the rest, we have a lot of projects that we want to do. But I think we'll
It
talk about
sounds,
more of that later.
this good spirit that you talk about sounds like something I really know I experience when we get together with FOP. It's very empowering. It takes me through the whole year almost. Um, yeah, and Pascale has been on board from the very beginning, right? As the conductor?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes. I wanted a female conductor, of course, and I've known Pascale since I was, I think, 12 years old.
Yeah.
So, and then I witnessed Pascale from violin to viola player and then to conductor. And I was always like very impressed by her. And then I asked, and luckily she said yes.
Oh,
Yes, and yeah, I was very happy that Eline asked me, because the project was really super interesting, and yeah, very good atmosphere with all the women. So I'm really happy she asked me.
then in our talk today, we have several people who are sort of the organizational committee for the Women's Orchestra project. Beatrice and myself, but then we have a group of another 5 people who are working with us. That's Mechthild and Elke. I'm not sure if there are others from the committee, to Utah, who are on the committee. So I'm wondering, how do you organize yourself? Do you have an organizational committee, or do you do everything yourselves, or?
Well, I mostly do everything myself.
Oh,
I did make my own. So the orchestra is actually part of my nonprofit organization that
oh,
I founded as well, and we have 4 members, including me. So, but it's a lot of work for 4 people to do. And yeah, so that's kind of how we organize things, is through the nonprofit organization.
okay. So you can get donations and different things through that, and uh, um,
It's
because I saw
not
you had,
easy.
yeah, you have a very nice website, and probably do all of that yourself. Oh my
Yes,
God.
exactly.
I
It's a
can
lot of work.
imagine. I know. I mean, I'm very happy for our committee, but I think Beatrice and myself, we have, of course, we meet just once a year, but we have a lot of organization even for just once. And would you say, have you been able to find some sort of sponsoring or financial help?
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
We have asked for subsidies from the government, I think already now 4 times, and we've never received any government funding for our projects. And yeah, so you have to, for the first project we did with all those women, all of the musicians did it for free. They
Mhm.
were all volunteering to do so, and we had like 10 rehearsals, so that's a lot of
Oh
time
yeah. Yes.
to like volunteer to put in. So that's also like a testament, for me, was like a testament
Oh
from
yes.
how much we needed this. But yeah, I also now wanted to pay. I mean, if as soon as you want to pay musicians, you're looking at big costs,
Yes.
and you have to look for companies willing to donate. We always ask for subsidies, but we always are in the mindset we're not going to get them, so we need to see that we get as many, and that goes from like the local bakery that gives maybe like $100 to maybe a bigger company that might give $2,000. So it's like it varies. It's always a like big difference. But the first project, we actually only got, I think, 7,000 in sponsoring, but I did the crowdfunding campaign for the
Yes.
first project, which we got 11,000 euros for, which was also like another like thing from people want this to happen.
Yeah.
So it's been very difficult. We're doing a project in May where we need a lot of money.
Yes.
And we're desperately looking for funds everywhere. So it's like a daily thing, emailing, calling, please give us money.
Yes, I imagine.
Not the most fun thing to do, but yeah, it needs to happen.
It's part, and it sounds like you have a lot of volunteer work also. I understand that, and I know about this sort of thing quite much because we have similar situation maybe with the Women's Archive project. We have some basic funding, but we always have to get further funding for projects. Several people here are also involved in that group. For example, Marlene Hoffmann from Berlin, who has worked there and works with us, and Mareike is on the board there, and Marie-Pierre is also connected there. So there are a number of people involved in that project. Beatrice is also a member of that group. Thank you for all the information. Let's go to actually how you work as an ensemble now, and let's talk about how you have what you have done. You had this big performance, this wonderful premiere on International Women's Day 2 years ago, so it's almost exactly 2 years now. And then we all know what happened after that. How have you kept the group going, the contacts going, and this time our way of doing it was to do smaller projects, and our next big project will be next year probably. But now you have things planned for this year, for May and for September. September, I'm afraid, it's the same weekend that we are meeting in Berlin, but in May, on the 13th of May, you have a big concert. How did you keep the group going, and what are your plans for this year?
Yeah, I think on social media, we had a Facebook group for all members. And there, I think, because everybody was so happy about the concert on the 8th of May, that gave some really group feeling, and that everything that was posted on the group, even the after movies or the things, kept it. We stayed really together like a group, and that everybody wanted to do a next project. And of course, because of Corona, it was more difficult. So the first year, there was just one concert. It was a rooftop concert, only with, I think, 5 musicians, Eline?
Yeah, exactly.
So, so that was the first thing that happened. Yeah, afterwards, Corona. Yeah, again, the same. Yeah. And then there was a collaboration concert. It was in November 2021, together with Female Takeover. On the podium. And then normally, actually, we had concerts in January, and we were looking very much forward to play then. Everybody was really happy. But so we started rehearsals. It was actually the concerts that we will play now in September. It was 3 female composers, actually Antwerp composers. So they just are still studying, one composer now in America, but for the rest they graduated. So it was Vidis Hansa Elst, who worked from her that we would play, Ellen Jacobs, and Marlies Hollevoet. So 3 pieces that were just for that concert. And we were already rehearsing. Everybody was very happy. And then on the 23rd of December, the government decided that no concerts were allowed anymore. So we needed to cancel the project. Of course, there was in Belgium a big protest, the 26th of December. And then on the 28th of December, they decided that you were allowed to give some concerts for 200 people. But yeah, then it was already too late because we canceled the concert. We had new dates in September. So that's why we decided just to do these concerts in September. And then we are just now concentrating on the concert on the May 13th. That's actually more, that are compositions, more romantical compositions, or pieces that are maybe more known because they are sometimes played already, like the Oak from Florence Price. We will play.
Oh, wonderful piece!
Yeah,
a wonderful piece.
Wonderful. I'm really happy with the program. And then Ouverture from Fanny Hensel.
Yeah, the C major overture. I've performed that before. I think we did it once also with the FOP orchestra, and I've done it with my groups. You will enjoy that. Very nice. Yeah.
And we do La Nuit et l'Amour from Augusta Olmeth.
Mm-hmm.
A very nice piece. Really beautiful too. Then on the act from Caroline Shaw. So string orchestra, a lovely piece.
I wrote to you and said it's my favorite.
Yeah, I know. So it's really
it's so beautiful, this piece. Yeah.
For me, it's from the first minute I heard the piece. I was really whoa. It's
in the fall we had a conference held by Musica Femina in Munich, and we had a string quartet. It's also a version for string quartet, and they played this piece. And I remember I was downstairs listening. You know, they started their rehearsal, and I heard the first bar, and I knew exactly what piece it was, and it gave me goosebumps. It's so special. Yeah.
Yes, that feeling. And then we will play. It's more chamber music, a new work written. It's Lara Denise, a young Belgian composer that will write a piece for us. And then a little bit strange to program this, but the second movement of the Concerto de Aranjuez from Rodrigo, because actually this concerto is just known that, a lot of people tell, it's too difficult for women and it needs to be played by a man. But for example, I played this piece already a few times with my orchestra, and my twin sister played the guitar solo, so it's possible.
Good.
There is no reason that women can't do this. So and this concert we will make a recording, a professional recording, and during the conference of the International Alliance for Women in Music, so in June, they will play the recording. Everybody can see it.
It's wonderful. I had your January dates I had in my calendar. I wanted to try to come, and I still have the 13th of May in my program. So I hope maybe I can come, hear you play, or of course at least hear the recording. Let's pick up, because I know Eline has to leave quite soon. Let's pick up on this idea of the International Association of Women in Music, because this group is having its annual conference in the United States in Oregon in June, but it will also be online, and you can also attend online. And Eline is now a member of the board there. So maybe you tell us about this connection, because you are a networker.
Well, our concert that we did in March 2 years ago was actually also a benefit concert, because we wanted to support women in music. And I was looking around, and I just really loved the IAWM. From the moment I looked at what they stood for, I was like, yeah, that's exactly what we stand for, what we were trying to accomplish. So we gave a portion of our profit to them. And ever since then, they were in contact with me, and they actually wanted to partner up with the orchestra for this conference. So that our concert is actually like a collaboration with the IAWM. But there then was a call for new board members that they were looking for. And that's been my dream for a while. So I just put my resume in there, and then they elected me, so I was very excited.
I know. I saw your name and I voted for you. But I am personally a member. I've been a member for a long time, and the Archive of Women in Music is also a member and a cooperation partner. So we network there a lot, and I was very happy to think that you're now on the board there. And that you're cooperating with them for your projects. That's wonderful. I have another question for you, and this is something I really wonder about, because I see a pattern. I know that you are in touch with is she pronounced Chi-Chi or
Yes, yes,
Chi-Chi?
exactly.
Ja, Chi-Chi
Wanoku.
Nwoku,
Yeah,
genau.
exactly.
Yeah, she is a woman who works in England, a string bass player who founded a really important orchestra there. It's called the Chinika Orchestra, and they provide career opportunities for Black and ethnically diverse classical musicians. So it's
Yes.
one of the most wonderful new ensembles in England, and she is a string bass player, and she
Yes.
founded this orchestra. You are a string bass player, and you founded Virago, and the founder of the Frauenorchesterprojekt, Gudrun Schnellbacher, is also a string bass player. What is it about you string bass players? It seems really remarkable. Are you the most, and Andrea Botello's daughter, the string bass player, you saw her in the video?
Yeah.
Also a very strong young woman. Maybe she will go on to found the next orchestra. So what is it about you string bass players? What is it?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's because I wrote my thesis on like sexism within classical music, and one of the parts was about the stereotyping of certain musical instruments that still happens.
Yes.
And the double bass is one of those instruments. Like it's I can send Mary Ellen my thesis. She can send it around.
Oh yes, thank you.
Read
Please,
it.
I'll die to see it. To read it.
Yeah. I went around and interviewed also a bunch of women across the world, including Chi-Chi, and all their interviews are in there as well, which is really cool to read. So the stereotyping of musical instruments and the double bass is one of them. And I never saw a woman bass player on stage when I was little. And then during like one of these bass days, there was like a magazine, and on the front cover was Chi-Chi with her bass on her back, like a really fun picture. And I was like, ooh, that's really cool. And I'm like, and she looked like she was like this tiny bass player. And I'm like, I'm super tiny. I'm like 1.50 meters. So I'm like super, super small. So of course, I was like the smallest child, and I needed to get the biggest instrument. And so I immediately like related to her, and I wrote her like a fan letter when I was like 8 years old. And she sent me one back saying, but I have a concert in Brussels next month. I have 2 tickets ready. You can come with your mom. And then I met her backstage and everything. And since then we've had this connection, and we still talk to each other to this day, which is really cool. But I think it's because we still live in this man's world when it comes to our instrument, that we are more likely to push back in that sense, because we get like talked down to a lot, because it's just, for people, it's still weird to see a small woman on the double bass. It should be like a large man on the double bass. That's what makes sense to most people. So I mean, it goes from juries to actual players in the orchestra. There's this kind of often a toxic vibe that happens when you're a woman and you play well. It kind of clashes often.
Yeah.
And
I think, I mean, you speak to many of us from the heart. If I look at the people here, there's some people who play instruments that I would say are considered unusual for women, maybe the horn or the trombone. These things are just starting to change, but it's still not that easy.
Yeah.
And I really, really respect you for making this decision. It's wonderful to hear your story of mentoring, of this sort of connection between the generations, of having a good example with Chichi, that I think is so important. And I think it's what Pascale and I and other women who conduct also feel. If we can get on stage and show more and more women this is possible, and also we have a few role models, maybe two people, somewhat older. Good, I'm older than you, Pascale, but some women who started out in this field, maybe who are now even in their 80s or something, 80s and 70s. Those role models are so important. And Pascale, if we talk about that, did you have some role models, or did you just dream up the idea of conducting? And tell us maybe where you stand with your career.
Yeah. So just I think in the beginning, I wanted to start conducting. I even didn't think that it was only something for men. So it was just when I did my entrance exam at the conservatory that I noticed, okay, I'm the only woman here. And then my teacher told me, yeah, it's not so easy. I don't know if it's possible because you're the woman in the group. And then he gave the first thing we needed to do, and he still does, is to make a conducting baton out of wood. And he thought, yeah, I don't know if women can do that. And that made, I was so angry just by myself that I thought, okay, I will just prove that I can become a conductor, and not a normal conductor, but a good conductor. I will prove that I will be better than most of the men in the class, for example. So, and then I start working very hard. And actually at that moment, it was around 2010, I think I started. There were not even in Belgium, not many women conductors. But then we have in Belgium the famous Queen Elizabeth competition. It was always the finals conducted by men. But then Marin Elsop.
Oh, yes.
So I was so happy that she was asked to conduct the finals of the Queen Elizabeth competition. So, and I noticed that musicians that play in the National Orchestra of Belgium, they were so happy about her conducting and how she treated the musicians and how she was just as a conductor. And I think for me, that's one of my role models where I was, that I admire really.
Thank you. I mean, I think in your generation, fortunately, there are some role models. When I was starting to be interested in conducting in the 1970s and 80s, there were not so many people, women working in the field, just a handful. But luckily, when I was a teenager, I saw one important performance by a woman conductor, and that helped me also think about working in that field. And now, this year, you are assistant conductor of the Orchestre Philharmonique Royale van Liège.
Yes, that's right. So I did the audition last year in April, and then they just choose actually two female conductors to be the assistant in Liège, and I'm actually very happy that we are choosing both. So it's Ellie Slorach that was chosen together with me, and I noticed actually that that the orchestra is supporting actually very much that we are women, and it's very important because we are doing all these family and school concerts too. And then it's from the very young children from 3 years old, we have some concerts, but children from 6 years, from 12 years, from 15 years, we have some concerts too. So if they come to listen and they see just a female conductor on the podium, then just, the image of a female conductor will be normal maybe for them. even some children come afterwards to me to ask me a few things. For example, if your arms are not, it doesn't hurt because you're waving with your arms and so on. I think that's really good that we are just women, that we show already to all these children that it's possible.
Oh, wonderful! I'd like to round up our talk now. I would like to just give my heartfelt thanks to both of you. This has been a wonderful enrichment and exchange, and I'm looking forward just to staying in touch. Thank you for all the information, and I think it's nice to just build a bridge between what we're doing in Berlin and what you're doing in Antwerp. I hope we can really just keep going with that, and I wish you all the best for all of your activities with the IAWM and with the concerts on the 13th of May and at the end of September. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. See you soon.
Yeah, see you soon. I need to go to.
I know you need to
everyone.
leave. Yeah. Goodbye.
Bye
Goodbye.
bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Vielen, vielen Dank.